Hello and welcome to the Sunday Guardian show by Joyeeta Basu. I'm the editor of the newspaper printed from New Delhi. Today I have a very special guest with me where we are going to discuss the current situation in what is happening in the Israel-Lebanon or rather Israel-Hamas war. But before that, I just want to mention that both of us were part of the same trip last week to Israel as part of the American Jewish Committee, which had invited a few Indian journalists to go there and see what was going on. So now let me introduce my guest, Savio Rodrigues, who is founder and editor-in-chief of the Goa Chronicle. Savio, good to see you after what we saw on Thursday. I think we had a fantastic trip to Israel and I still cannot believe. I myself wrote an article on Friday and everything changed by Friday evening. So Savio, were you surprised by the suddenness of events that happened on Friday?
Joyeeta, thank you for having invited me to your discussion, and it was a pleasure to be with you on the trip to Israel. To answer your question, no, I was not surprised by what happened. I anticipated it. In fact, in my conversation with one of the fellow colleagues that were with us, Sandeep Punithan, I actually told him that I believe that Netanyahu, before October 7th, which will be the completion of a year since the tragic incident happened in 2023, would need to do something extremely constructive and assertive to deal with the terrorists that were harboring around the border of Israel. So while he did give Hamas a very strong blow, the real danger is Hezbollah, because Hezbollah from October 8th has been attacking Israel. You've had about 9,000 missiles that have come towards the Israel territory. You have about 1,000 drone bombs that have come towards the Israel territory. And all over the place, there have been some deaths that have happened because of the missiles that have come in. And therefore, Hezbollah, which is a far more lethal terror organization because they have military experience, they have a war experience when you compare it to Hamas. Hamas is more of a terror organization. As you and I would have seen through those horrific videos, they are absolutely demonic and diabolical in their actions, but absolutely no sense of military organization or an ability to get into a war. They are at best a mid-level terror organization. Hezbollah is far more a well-oiled machine. So the real threat to Israel is actually from Hezbollah. Hezbollah, of course, you will have the Iranian strength that comes behind the Hezbollah as far as weapons are concerned, money is concerned. So the real threat is actually Hezbollah. And what Netanyahu is doing right now, we need to understand, as you and I both understood from the ground, that the people are very, very disturbed of the fact that the safe and secure Israel that they belong to after October 7, 2023 was no longer safe and secure to them. Because when they opened their doors to the Palestinians, when they opened their doors to working towards peace, both at Gaza and at West Bank, and that is why you would remember in the article you carried on the Sunday Guardian, that it was on October 6th.
The one I wrote.
Yeah, the one you wrote on October
7th and October 8th.
No, but on October 6th also. What was important is that Saudi and the US, with the East in charge, Brett McGurk, were actually working on the final contours of the deal, or what you would call the extension to the Abraham Accords, which was to be accepted by Israel, wherein Saudi decided to come to the agreement only if there was socio-economic welfare to Palestine as a state. And that happened on October 6th in the whole day towards the process. And on October 7th is when you had Hamas initiate the terror attack. My personal opinion, and it's the opinion of most analysts, I think the attack driven by Hamas in the first place on October 7th was done with the idea of scuttling the peace processes that Saudi, US and Israel were working as far as the Middle East and Palestine is concerned. Palestine people on the ground, and this is not what we met this time. When we met last time, when I went last year, and I continue to stay in touch with people in Palestine, both at West Bank and some of them in Gaza, see, most of them are not a part of the terror outfits. Yes, some civilians are a part of the terror establishments that exist, but majority of them just want to move ahead with their life. What they want to do is have a socio-economic welfare. In fact, I personally think what Netanyahu and Israel is doing is actually freeing both Lebanon and the people and Palestine from the clutches of terror outfits, which is required. Because look at it in this way: a lot of Palestinians were coming from West Bank to work in Israel. If there was a conflict, if there was an animosity, why would they do that? They were doing that because there was no socio-economic welfare happening as extensively in Palestine as it was in Israel. So I'll give you an example. If you were earning, say, 100 rupees in Palestine, in Israel, you would be able to earn about 500 rupees for the same work. That is the comparative reasons why people were coming. And we had conversations with people in Palestine. I have been to Ramallah. I know what the people over there want. And the point is this: is terrorism the problem in Palestine and the Middle East? The answer is yes. And the terrorism is actually permeated or percolated by several groups. One is the ISIS. The other one is the Al-Qaeda. The other one is Houthis. Then you have Hamas. Then you have Hezbollah. Then you have the Iraqi militias. And they are all surrounding Israel because Israel is the only Jewish state that exists in that entire region. And that's the problem.
Yeah, actually what they have done, Israel, we heard about, but there's a 7-front attack. I mean, we talk about a possibility of a 2-front attack from China and Pakistan, and Israel is day in and out facing a 7-front attack. And this is something really strange. I mean, that's my view. The thing is, the kind of hatred, and frankly, for what? I mean, what has Israel done? If you're looking at its history, okay, maybe there was a 1948 war and all, but that has gone to the level of genocidal hatred. I mean, it is almost, and it's not that Israel has been making these people second-class citizens and all, no. I mean, but which the Islamic empire and all throughout history they have done. So it's very difficult to understand this genocidal hatred that, one of the reasons how, Hamas is a Sunni force and where Hezbollah is a Shia and Iran, which is also Shia. I mean, the hatred is so great. The hatred is something that binds all of them together. Now, this is something, and this is where it's find so easy to, I mean, these clerics and all, they find it so easy to radicalize these people. And of course, as we found out, it was Netanyahu's mistake that all through he has been concentrating about Hezbollah. He was focusing at Hezbollah. It was Hamas which carried out the attack. Now that he has gone back to, I mean, I would say Hamas military capability has been neutralized to a large extent. And now that he's going after Hezbollah and there is a land invasion, ground invasion of Lebanon has started, how far do you think he will go? Will it be a long-term one? Will it be a short-term one? Which way do you think the war is headed?
See, I think the most important thing is the UN resolution of 1701, wherein Lebanon was supposed to deal with the terror outfits and the extremist elements as far as their country is concerned. So I believe what Netanyahu and Israel is doing is pushing back.
I think we need to, Savio, sorry for interrupting. I think we need to explain a little bit what this 1701 is, because lots of viewers may not be knowing about it, although this is at the crux of the conflict there right now.
So when the previous war with Lebanon happened, there was a ceasefire that came about. 2006, there was a ceasefire that came about. And through that ceasefire, there were certain resolutions that were reached between the concerned parties, this being Lebanon and Israel and the United States and the UN at that point of time. Now, one of the main aspects of the clause 1701 or the resolution 1701 was that the elements that were creating terrorism or anarchy or militancy in Lebanon had to be dealt with as far as the Lebanese government is concerned. And what has happened ever since that is Hezbollah has only grown from strength to strength, which is why after the death of Nasrallah, the leader of the Hezbollah, the Lebanese prime minister came out and made a statement that we will adhere to 1701, which means they have to neutralize all the existential threats, which are terror threats that exist for Lebanon as well as Israel. Now, what is Hezbollah? Let us understand Hezbollah is not the people of Lebanon. The people of Lebanon are run by the government of Lebanon. Unfortunately, because of the growing terror outfit strength, Hezbollah's strength in Lebanon, Hezbollah's backing by Iran, they are the quasi-government body that exists in Lebanon. Well, not official, but that's how they behave. So the Lebanese government is compelled to function under the dictates of the Hezbollah. And right now, I think Israel is doing exactly what the people of Lebanon want. They want to get rid of Islamic radicalism. They want to get rid of Islamic terrorism. Lebanon at one point of time was the Paris of the Middle East. It was a very secular country. It was a very unique, creative country where there was a lot of value towards arts, towards music, towards entrepreneurship. They were living life till Islamic radicalism hit it. And once Islamic radicalism hit it, it degenerated. And the problem, Joyeeta, many people don't understand, is that Islamic radicalism is not about Islam per se. Islamic radicalism is about an interpretation of the aggression that exists in Islam that is taken forward to control the masses and to create this sort of jihadi mindset into young children, and when they grow up, they become fighters for what they consider to be war or a religious war or a jihadi war, and they use it in all aspects of their life. If you look at some of the documents or the course content happening by UNRWA schools in Palestine and especially in Gaza, you would notice that the content is completely anti-Semitic, which is against the Jews, right? Even Nasrallah's statement, which we wrote about in the Goa Chronicle, was that Nasrallah's ideology, Joyeeta, was very similar to Hitler. Nasrallah's problem was not with... Go ahead.
Yeah, if you look at the charter of the Hezbollah, and Nasrallah was one of the founders, the charter mentions as one of its points the destruction of Israel. So you see, that is my problem with these people. They are talking in terms of actually a Holocaust, and the thing is, the complete lack of moral compass among these people, that they are ready to kill, they are willing to torture, and for them, there are people in India who are mourning Nasrallah's death. Now just think of a situation. Here is this man who is talking about genocide, massacre, Holocaust. He doesn't have any, regret about what Hamas did. He is supporting what the Hamas did, and we saw, Savio, what the Hamas has done. It was, unbelievable savagery, to decapitate people on camera. It was at times I was finding it difficult to look at those visuals that were coming in. So these are the people, and there are Indians here who are supporting such people. It's unbelievable. So that is the fundamental problem with the Hezbollah, that it is a genocidal cult. It is not it's a genocidal cult, and that is what they were trying to implement. For them, killing 9 million people, which Israel's population is nothing. Yeah, so please continue.
So Nasrallah's main focus was Jews. He wants to exterminate the Jews. He considers the Jews to be second-class citizens. He considers the Jews to be, he actually wants to eliminate them. That's the problem.
Absolutely.
Now, the problem with Islamic radicalism, which then further graduates to Islamic terrorism, is the mindset. So while I agree that Israel must go all out and dismantle, eradicate and eliminate Islamic terrorism, we have to deal with Islamic radicalism. And Islamic radicalism is starting from the time they are in kindergarten, going to the madrasas that they are going to the schools that they are learning this from. It's not happening only in the Middle East, it's happening in India as well. The point is that when you start brainwashing a child right from the start, and you start using religious as a compass to map his socio-economic growth in life, his religious growth in life, that's when the child starts thinking that this is the only measure to decide whether he's a good or a bad person, whether he's going to Jannat or whether he's going to hell, right? That's exactly the problem with Islamic radicalism. So while you're dealing with Islamic terrorism, I think it's important for countries like Israel, India, who are plagued with problems of Islamic terrorism, to find a way to deal with Islamic radicalism. The problem Israel made, Joyeeta, which many people don't look at, is the fact that ever since the first conflict happened between Hamas and Israel, there has been a constant effort by the US, by Israel, and other nations like even Qatar to de-radicalize the radicalized in Gaza, to de-radicalize the radicalized in West Bank. But the problem is just that. The problem is you cannot de-radicalize the radicalized. That itself is absurd, because once it seeps into your mind that this is the way you have to go forward, we have seen it in the videos ourselves. It was in the name of the God they believed in that they were decapitating people. It was in the name of the God they believe in that they were shooting down people. It was the name of the God they believed in that they were raping the women. That is the kind of radicalism and brainwashing.
Some of them are not even Jewish. Some of them are
Exactly.
not even Jewish.
Exactly.
That guy from Thailand who was decapitated, he was not Jewish. So what exactly is the purpose?
So that's the point I'm trying to make. The real challenge for the world is, yes, we can deal with Islamic terrorism. How do you deal with Islamic terrorism? You eliminate all the terrorist organizations, and you make them completely, bring them to dust. But the real problem is Islamic radicalism, because what happens is you can destroy the body, but the mind remains, and the mind tends to like a virus, continues to spread. So one Nasrallah will die, one Hamas leader will die. There will be more that will come out that will be even more vicious than the previous. And if you see how they are, if you see Nasrallah's leader before him was not as vicious as Nasrallah. Nasrallah was more vicious. So I'm seeing that the next leadership will be far more ruthless, and therefore Islamic radicalism needs to be treated by the world leaders in trying to understand that as long as this cult of Islamic radicalism continues, the world is in danger.
Now, the problem, I'll tell you, Savio, from whatever I see it, the minute you talk about Islamic radicalism, you get branded as an Islamophobe. And that is what has exactly happened with the West. And that is why there are people, the so-called progressives in the Democratic Party in the US, for example, anything that you say against terrorism, they will brand everything as Islamophobia. In fact, they were able to even get a UN resolution passed against Islamophobia, even though there is already a resolution against, discrimination and against religions and all. But the United Nations made a special effort, and they took out, India had objected to it, but no one listened to India at that point. So I think that is, until that time, there is a denial, particularly in the West and the so-called left liberal section. I don't think the world will understand. So that is understand what this is not Islamophobia. This is an existential problem for the rest of the world. So the thing, that the very fact that Israel is being able to take it on is making a statement. Now, my point was that when I was actually asking about, now that Israel, there is a ground force invasion of southern Lebanon. So do you think Israel will stop ensuring that, this 30-kilometer barrier, that buffer zone between Israel-Lebanon border, the Blue Line and the Litani River, do you think Israel will stop over there and ensure that this part is cleared, or do you think Israel will continue even further into?
No, I think Israel will stop and push the Hezbollah and the Lebanese beyond the Litani River and secure the border areas as far as the security for the people in Israel is considered.
Mhm.
For whatever I know, Netanyahu and his team and the inputs that I've got from them, there is no intent whatsoever with Israel to occupy any of those territories at
Exactly.
all. In fact, it was Israel that was accepting Palestine as a state. That is what happened on October 6th. There was an agreement that they were going to accept Palestine as a state, and Saudi and US was putting it together with Israel. So the conflict is not there. The conflict and the problem the world needs to understand is that Israel is dealing with terrorists. Now, let's assume for a moment, and a lot of people argue that, see what Israel's done to Palestine, to Gaza, they went and bombed it. Yes, the region has been in conflict for many years. Okay, some people want to go back a couple of decades to say, this is a problem from them. And I asked them, I said, why don't we go back to the Bible, the Genesis? Because that's where the problem really starts. No?
Yes.
But are we going to go that back? No, right? So let's look at the conflict now. The conflict now is that on October 7, 2023, you had a terror group that attacked innocent Israeli civilians. Now, if they wanted to make a point and got into a war with Israel, fighting military to military, combat to combat, that even is acceptable. Because there's a conflict of interest and you are fighting. When you undertake an act of terrorism against innocent civilians who don't have anything to do in your political differences that you'll have or in the combat intent that you have, that is when you are playing a very, very ruthless, diabolical game, and you're using the innocent people as captives. Now, if Hamas wanted Israel to stop, or Iran wanted Israel to stop, or Hezbollah wanted Israel to stop, they could have returned back all the hostages. No?
Yeah.
101 hostages are still there. Why haven't they returned? Because they want to use them as leverage to negotiate. That is the only reason why they are keeping them. Right. So in that context, what is Israel supposed to do? Is Israel supposed to say, okay, I will bend to the world and accept the horror that my people went through? No, I don't think they will do that. And for we as Indians seeing that video, actually were upset. All of us were upset seeing those videos, Joyeeta. In fact, I was visibly upset even on television when I was talking to somebody about it, right? The point is this. So if we as Indians, because of the humanity in us, get upset, how much more will the Israelis get upset? Because those are their own people, their own families, right? So
Savio, we went to that, kibbutz Biri, where we met with the, that lady. I mean, I'm going to say it, even after 1 week, she has had such a huge impact on me. A lady whose husband was shot dead, and there she was standing there and telling us what all they have undergone, the kind of trauma. And then we met the first responder, the way he was describing, I mean, the bodies he found, the way he was, the bodies, the women, they were tortured, the manner, limbs torn, and I can't even mention, right now what all they had done to the women over there. I mean, it was extremely, extremely upsetting. I mean, for me personally, I was very, very upset. I'm certain all of you were, everyone there, all of us were very, very upset with whatever we saw and heard. And here we are hearing people talking about, from that river to the sea, Palestine will be free. We will do exactly what the Hamas has done to these people, that Hamas is not terrorist. I mean, for God's sake, have some humanity. Now, you see, before I think the last question, I think we will not have that much time also. I wish you were here. We could do it a face-to-face thing. Now, let's talk about Iran. Do you think an Israel-Iran war happening?
I think Iran currently, if you go by Iranian history, Iran is not a war-driven nation. They did have the Iran-Iraq war many years back, a couple of decades back. But right now, they are not in position to go into a full-fledged war with Israel, which is why they created the proxies. So I believe Iran will not get into a war with Israel. But if Iran does get into a war with Israel, I can tell you without a doubt, Iran will be brought down to rubble because they are not ready for a war with Israel. They're just picking up on their social economic indexes. I think Iran in its greed to control the West Asian region is actually making very wrong moves. Iran's problem primarily is stemming from two fronts, Joyeeta. Iran, being Shia, wants to prove to the Sunnis that they have control of the West Asia. Number one. Number two, Iran is normally backed by China. And China wants to prove to the US, which backs Israel, that we are more stronger in this area. So you have really a Shia-Sunni fight and you have a China-US fight. And in all this, you've got Israel sandwiched for the choices that it has made. The biggest mistake, which is what I've told somebody close to the government, is that you all believe that you could de-radicalize the radicalized. That is never going to happen in any part of the time you and I are living, because you cannot de-radicalize the radicalized. It's way beyond, right? So I think Iran will not get into a war. Iran will cry, continue to cry, play victim, which is what they do very well. We have known them to play victims very well. We are known to see the people here in India crying for Nasrallah, but nobody wanted to cry for Pat Niven Maxwell. Pat Niven Maxwell is the only Indian who died by a Hezbollah rocket. Did you see anybody protesting today, raising or even doing anything for that family? A Keralite?
Exactly.
He went there 2 months.
Exactly.
It was 2 months he was working on an agricultural project. A rocket came from Hezbollah, which is a terror organization. He died. He has a wife and a 5-year-old child. Don't the people in India protesting have, protesting for Nasrallah over Nasrallah's death, even care for this fellow Indian of ours?
So you see, no, but I was talking to someone in Israel on Saturday, in fact, after this attack had happened. And this gentleman told me that this is the attack, this Nasrallah's death. And apart from that, I think quite a few Iranian generals and a lot of, basically they were wiped out. The Hezbollah military leadership was wiped out. So this person was telling me, this gentleman, saying that, it's a huge humiliation for Iran, because they all go for that, loss of face and all those things. So this was a huge humiliation for them. And are they having second thoughts? Well, there is a possibility that they may be having second thoughts, but the way the clerics are, well, if they're actually having it or not, we do not know for certain. But they may be thinking in terms of maybe we should not have backed Hamas in that October 7 attack. I don't think they ever believed that Israel would retaliate in this manner. But for Israel, I think every single life counts, and for a big country like
Absolutely.
that, it's going to sound bad, but the fact is, for a big country like India, maybe it is not that much there, but for them, every single life counts. And it is only because of that, I think, this kind of action that you see. Now, the thing is, yes, will this stabilize the situation? I think we have got another 4-5 minutes. So please, do you think this temporary stabilization, long-term peace, if we are looking at two areas this way, which way do you think the West Asia, Middle East is headed?
I think one of the most important things I would want others to understand is before October 7, 2024, Israel will leave a mark as far as the world geopolitics is concerned. They will do it. That's my inner reading. I believe whether it will be an attack or a retaliation to Iran or not, I'm not able to tell you right now. But just as September 27th, they shocked the world with their uniqueness in countering terror. They will shock the world in their uniqueness in countering military aggression towards the people of Israel. Because they are clear with one objective. Right now, they're not going to listen to the US or to Saudi or anybody. They're going to only listen to the fact that we have to push the terror beyond the region of Israel, and we have to eliminate and eradicate it. That is why Netanyahu, in his speech to the people of Iran yesterday, was extremely clear. His fight is not against people, and I agree with that. Because it's not the Palestinians, it's not the Lebanese, it's not the Iranians that the fight is, but the fight is against terrorism. We as a country in India have also fought with terrorism. We are not against the Pakistanis, but we are against terrorism. We are against Pakistan when it does not call out terrorism for what it is. That is why we don't want to keep relations with them. That's the same problem Netanyahu has. So I think what Israel is doing is a favor for the rest of the Middle East, because Middle East is undoubtedly, and as Mohammed bin Salman has said, the Europe of the future by 2050. In order for that to happen, terrorism has to be eradicated out of the Middle East. And therefore, I think Saudi will make statements, the other nations will make statements, but at the back of the head, they will all support and actually pat Israel on the back for what Israel is doing. The only people who will have problem are the terrorists.
Absolutely. And the thing is, there's a clear divide that we are witnessing that is happening in that part of the world. The Arab world, as Savio said, they are not so much, I mean, they may be making certain statements, but beyond that, they are all happy that, frankly, these people are getting a drubbing, particularly Iran, which is a very malign force. They would like to, as Savio said, Saudi Arabia wants a solution to whatever is going on. But I have to end now. Savio, I have got a quick point. I think Israel has also done the US a favor. Think of, the US's history with Hezbollah. I mean, who has faced some of the worst kind of terror attacks against by the Hezbollah? It is the US. Their embassy bombing, their arms barrack bombing.
Correct.
But in spite of that, when you see the US, especially, if Kamala Harris comes in, basically pussyfooting with the terrorism, playing footsie with terrorists, I would say. That is what is going on. So frankly, I think that also played a part in terms of, at least that is what I was told, that he is going all out because he's also worried that if Kamala Harris becomes president, then he is not going to get much backing because of the kind of party people she has surrounded with. But having said that, thank you, Savio, so much for coming on this show. It was absolutely brilliant talking to you. We are going to do it again. And thank you, viewers, for watching. Until the next time.